In this week's video we go looking for a lifer, there's rain, a scarce type of heron, more rain, and we go and visit our favourite birding spot in the country. Hi folks, and welcome back to another birding adventure. This one started off on a Friday afternoon and a drive up to Northumberland. Hey folks, for the third time this year we're back at East Chevington Nature Reserve in Northumberland. Kaylee's ahead of me. We've just driven up about 4 hours, maybe, no, it's more than that. We got stuck in traffic, so it's more like 5.5 hours. Anyway, we're here, it's getting late, it's after 8 o'clock in the evening, but there is hopefully going to be a bird that's a lifer for us here, a white-winged tern. So it's been reported all day, but not for the last kind of hour and a half or so, so we are keeping our fingers crossed. I'm going to catch up with Kaylee. Stick with us. After a pretty stressful journey, being caught in bad traffic and worrying about if we were going to see this tern before it went dark, we were finally here. Kaylee had gone ahead to the hide and I followed her. When I caught up, she was already scanning the pool for the white-winged tern. The sun was very low and against us, and it was pretty hazy too, but we could see plenty of bird life in front of us. In the shallow water and on the mud directly in front of us, there were some black-headed gulls, mixed in with some terns as well, mainly sandwich and common terns. There was also some waders here too, like dunlin and lapwing. A little more distant, on a stony spit of land, there were some other gulls roosting, and amongst them there were some cormorants and the odd grey heron. Whilst in the hide, we got chatting to another birder and asked him about the white-winged tern. He said he'd recently seen it, but it had disappeared. And then, right on cue, it showed up. It's like it came from out of nowhere, but it flew low over the water and the marshes to the left of the hide. And although most of the time it remained distant, it did come closer now and again, giving us brief but lovely views as it rushed past in front of us. This bird was very mobile, twisting and turning in the air, and was a genuine challenge to get footage of. This species breeds from Eastern Europe through Central Asia into the far east of Russia, and winters in Africa, Southeast Asia and Australia. And although a reasonably rare visitor to the UK, there are a couple of records most years. Although, in our last few years birding, a species we've not caught up with. Until now. Hey folks.
Hey.
We have just got ourselves a lifer for both of us. Which is...
it's very flighty.
It's very flighty, yeah. So the footage isn't the best because it's reasonably distant. I'm taken against the sun and the bird is just so mobile. But regardless, that is amazing.
I need to get myself a new cameraman.
Shush.
Reasonably often, the tern had disappeared to the back of the lake or completely out of sight, leaving us with all the other wildlife present. And although there was plenty to look at, like the terns and waders, the mollards and shelducks, even a young grey-lag goose with a limp that wandered off into the water to spend time with its family. These weren't the bird we'd come for. We were absolutely over the moon to get the white-winged tern and another lifer. As it was going dark and we were just about to leave, the tern made one last appearance and flew closer to the hide than we'd seen it do yet. It was like it was doing a farewell lap. But as we were getting to the point where we couldn't see much, we headed back to the van, as we were pretty desperate for a meal.
Hey babe,
Hey.
what are you cooking this time? Pasta?
Nice, easy pasta.
Nice easy pasta.
I'm not making this time, this is shop bought.
Shop bought stuff. Well, it should be okay. We've had a long day driving and we've just had our first lifer.
Yep.
So you can't grumble at that. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really hungry. It's about 9:30 in the evening now.
Shop bought wings.
Yep, ready for dinner.
We had our meal and settled down for the night, waking up the following morning to pretty miserable conditions. Despite the foggy, drizzly weather, I went out for my normal morning walk to see if anything would brave the rain. My first port of call was a viewing screen that looked over the pool we were looking at the previous night, but from a different angle, in the hope that the white-winged tern might still be here and I might get some slightly better views than the previous night. When I got there, the visibility was terrible. Regardless, I could see some young black-headed gulls making a racket in front of me and their parent avoiding them by standing on the top of a wooden post. And in front of me on the water's edge there was a couple of wading birds, lapwing and a lovely dunlin that was wandering along feeding. A little bit further round I saw a group of gulls. There seemed to be more than the previous night, and they were joined by ever-growing amounts of terns. Much like the previous evening, there were common terns and sandwich terns, some of them roosting and some of them preening, but no sight of the white-winged tern. Not being one to easily give up, I did stick around for a while, just in case it showed up again, but after a reasonable wait and the rain getting a bit heavier, I decided I should probably head back towards the van.
Hey folks, so it looks like coming here last night was like a really good idea. The white-winged tern's no longer here, well I certainly couldn't see it. I stayed at the hide for about 40 minutes or so. Yeah, it's not here. There's plenty of common terns and sandwich terns and gulls and all sorts of other stuff, but no white-winged tern. So I'm going to head back to the van, grab some breakfast and then figure out what to do next. So stick with us for that.
I wandered down the path towards where we'd parked, stopping en route to see a wet reed bunting that was preening, but I did have to get back because I had an idea of what to do next. One that Kaylee might not like.
Hey folks, so we're just about to go on a little mission that caused a little bit of a rift here because less than 15 minutes away is Amble, and the last couple of days there's been a Caspian gull showing at Amble,
Which was
Harbour.
always there, we're told.
Well, we've been told it kind of lives there. It's not a bird that Kaylee's particularly fond of trying to find.
No. I'm done with Caspian gulls, told you that.
So
It's not even fun.
it's because they're so similar to herring gulls, and I've had a really bad time identifying them in the past. This one though has got a yellow ring on it, with specific letters, and it was ringed in Poland. So
he's determined to go get it. So
we're going to just nip up
there's
north.
some good shops up there. I'll be alright.
I'm going to go and try and find the Caspian gull while Katie looks around some shops. And then, hopefully, if it's still there, we'll go and have a look
Night heron.
for a night heron. Stick with us for those.
Confident I was going to find the Caspian gull, we drove the 15 minutes up to Amble.
So we've arrived and you can see the excitement on Kaylee's face. She's really up for this.
There's no visibility though.
There isn't, it's pretty poor. I'm not holding out masses of hope, but we didn't have to travel far, so that's at least something.
Yes, my initial confidence had been dashed by the poor visibility, but things were about to get even more challenging. And by the time I got to the harbour and had a look, my confidence had completely vanished. We appear to have picked the worst time possible for this task. Not only was the fog really impairing our views, there was thousands of gulls on the water as the fishing boats were in. The problem with the gulls being on the water is I had no chance of seeing the bird with the yellow ring. And I don't think I was confident enough to try and pick a Caspian gull out of these hundreds and hundreds of herring gulls, especially when they're all moving about. Regardless, I was determined to at least give it a try, and by now Kaylee had wandered off to the butcher's shop, so that gave me a little bit of time to scan the birds. Some of the gulls were flying round and some of them were in a group on the water. The odd bird would fly close as a few of the fish that the fishermen chucked out were getting close to the harbour wall. Occasionally one would land on the boat in front of me, but never the Caspian gull I was after. Opposite the harbour wall, reasonably distant, there was a wooden structure, and on this there was some gulls perching. So I scanned through those as well to see if I could see an obvious yellow ring. Amongst the gulls was a real odd one out, a grey heron. By this time though, I'd still not found the Caspian gull, and I felt like I was being beaten. And Kaylee had come back with a sausage butty, and to gloat.
Are you agreeing with my objection now?
I hate to say it, but she was right. The curse of the Caspian gull had struck again. I did stick around for a little bit longer, but did have to finally admit defeat.
So, okay, I concede that was a fool's errand. We got there and the fishing boats were there and were just loads of gulls, couldn't see any legs or rings. Scanned a bit, no.
What did you say?
She told me so.
Went the butchers though, that was nice.
Yeah, she went to the butchers and got us, like you had a bacon butty and I had like a sausage bap, so that was pleasant. Nice breakfast. We'll head south now. Hopefully there'll be hopefully a night heron, all being well.
With me a little deflated and Kaylee happy that she'd proved me wrong, we headed back towards the van and set out on our way down south towards the outskirts of Newcastle and to a little quarry pool in the middle of suburbia.
Hey folks, we've come now to Mardon Quarry, still in Northumberland, to try and find a black crowned night heron that's been seen here. Although I can't seem to find any other birders, there's no other birders here. So, this is on us.
I'll find someone.
We've got to try and find it. Stick with us.
After recording that, saying there were no other birders, we turned round a corner and lo and behold, there was a good number of them. So we headed in their direction, presuming they had the black crowned night heron in their sights. And when we got to them, they had, although it wasn't really playing ball. It had been roosting in the same position, obscured by vegetation, for at least 2 hours, and had barely moved. Regardless, it was a lovely little quarry park, and we got chatting to some other birders, including one of our subscribers, which was a lovely way to spend the time while Mr. Night Heron had a snooze. Hopefully, he'd wake up soon and be hungry. Although this is a pretty small pool in quite an urban setting, there was plenty of life here. It was like a little oasis in suburbia. We saw mollards and coots, we saw grey-lag geese, Canada geese, tufted ducks and all types of gulls too. There were definitely worse places to spend a Saturday afternoon. Finally though, our black crowned night heron actually moved. Don't get too excited though, he only had a preen in situ. Regardless, this is the most action any of the birders had seen out of this night heron for a couple of hours, so it caused a little bit of excitement. This species is very widespread on a world scale, being present in Europe, Asia, Africa and the Americas. Despite this, it's still a pretty rare bird in the UK. Although numbers do seem to be increasing, and there was a breeding record in Somerset in 2017, so this might be another species that's slowly moving in. Regardless, at this time, seeing one in the country is still pretty exciting, and I think only the fourth one we've seen. This individual gave us a short show while it rearranged itself, and then went back to snoozing. And although we waited for quite a while, it didn't seem to want to wake up again. By this time, it had started raining, which had been forecast, so we slowly headed back towards the van. Happy though that we got yet another target species off of our year list. But what to do next? We'd hit both of the species we'd come after, and it was only mid-afternoon. After a lot of conversation, we made a final decision and headed quite far south through some absolutely horrendous weather.
Folks, where is she? Hey folks. We saw the night heron, although it was kind of sleeping and occasionally preening and then going back to sleep. The only problem is it started raining and as you can see, it hasn't stopped. So we've done a crazy thing because there's no other kind of target species about that we needed. We've just driven to one of our favourite places, which has taken us. We're in Spurn. It's taken us 3.5 hours. There's no target species here. We've come because we like it and we're going to have a look. But let's see what we find. We might find something.
Yes, we had a selfish moment and went to one of our favourite places in the country, the Spurn area, and our first stop was Kilnsea Wetlands. When we arrived, we braved the rain and headed to the hide. and were met by quite a shock.
So hey folks, we're here at County Wetlands,
It's dry.
and it's not wet, it's dry.
It's completely.
Right, I've never ever seen it like this. So perhaps they need this rain. There's just nothing here. I can hear some oyster catchers and I've just seen one.
Have a look at the back bit, see if there's any water there.
Left, yeah, we're going to go up towards like Beacon Ponds, but get a bit more wet, but see if there's anything up there. 'Cause this is wacky.
We set out into the rain again and walked up the path towards Beacon Ponds, in the hope they had some water in them. We did discover later in the day, after chatting to another birder, that today's rain is the first they'd had in weeks, and Kilnsea Wetlands had been dry since the middle of June. Luckily though, when we got up to Beacon Ponds, there was at least some water here, and some birds. As soon as we arrived, there was a very shouty avocet that flew over our heads a couple of times and landed right in front of us. It was being protective over its young. It appeared to have 3 super cute little bundles of joy that were initially feeding in the mud right in front of us, and then soon ran away when their parents called. In the distance there were large groups of terns sat on any available bit of sand. Most of them were sandwich terns, but there were also some common terns too, and the odd black-headed gull interspersed between them. There were also on the opposite side a few wading birds. We noticed amongst the avocets a few ringed plovers and also a group of knot that were feeding. As we walked further along the bank, there was a grey heron that had just been chased off by an angry avocet. And further up, right at the far end of the pool, there was a distant spoonbill, a species that's appeared in quite a few of our videos this year, and although becoming increasingly more common in the country, always a lovely bird to see. We now headed back down the path, and past one of the baby avocets that had come really close. Although this little individual's still quite young, you can see some of the adult markings coming through, particularly on the wings, which was amazing. And it seems to have learnt pretty well how to feed off its parents. It won't be long at all until this bird's looking much like its mum and dad. As it had started raining again, we headed back towards the van, en route passing a very wet great tit, and after a while an even wetter reed bunting. This bird looked absolutely drenched.
Hey folks, well that was a little bit of a shock, the not so wet or no longer wet wetland. We went a bit up to Beacon Ponds and there was a couple of bits and bobs up there, some avocets, and we saw a spoonbill, which is kind of cool. But not that much. So we're going to go down towards the warren now at Spurn and see if there's anything there at all.
Instead of going to walk down to the warren, we made a stop at the canal scrape to shelter from the rain in the hide. And although it was reasonably quiet for birds with the usual groups of mallards, there was 2 wonderfully colourful black-tailed godwits, and they were really close to the hide, giving us fantastic views. This species is a very rare breeder in Britain with only about 50 breeding pairs, but is regularly seen in their thousands on autumn migration and in winter when some of the birds that breed in Iceland come here. As the rain had died off just a little, we headed out and down towards the warren screen to see if there were any birds on the Humber estuary before it went dark. The first things we saw weren't birds. There were some deeply impressive looking Highland cows, followed by one of many rabbits we saw here. Although when we got to the warren we did hear quite a few birds and see a few too, including oyster catchers, a couple of little egrets, and a pair of golden plovers that were quite close to the shore. Unfortunately though, the clouds got darker and the rain started again. So we headed back drenched to the van with a very clear plan.
Hey folks, rain has definitely stopped play. It's every time we've tried to go out, it's just hammered down. So
As you can tell.
yeah, it's now about 7:30, and we've decided to call it quits for the day and go to the pub, which is the only option really. We are here for a little bit in the morning, so we'll have another look around then and see what else is there. So stick with us for that.
I'm paying for dinner, so it's okay.
And I'm paying for dinner.
We had a wonderful meal and a pint each in the Crown and Anchor, and then headed back to our overnight spot. At this point there was a break in the rain, so we left the side door of the van open and watched the starlings coming in to roost. What a lovely day it had been, although the weather hadn't always been in our favour. We'd seen a couple of our target species and we were now in one of our favourite spots. But now it was time to settle down for the night. The following morning we woke up to a slightly better day.
Hey folks, good morning. I don't want to speak too soon, but it's currently not raining, which plagued us for most of yesterday. I'm going to have a bit of a wander round before we have to go home. See what's about.
I took a walk down to the Warren screen, and although it was low tide, there was plenty of bird sound in the air. When I got to the screen itself, I was greeted by a marsh harrier flying past. This individual landed on the grass right in front of the screen, but only for a second, and then flew off. Unfortunately though, I was a bit slow with the camera. Regardless, I got it flying. It was soon followed by a second marsh harrier. That wasn't the end of it. A third marsh harrier came through. This one really low over the estuary, giving better, less silhouetted views. These 3 birds today appeared to be female. Regardless, it was amazing to see 3 marsh harriers following each other down the Humber. That's something you don't see every day.
Hey folks, that was pretty exciting. I had 3 marsh harriers pass really close to the screen I was watching through. That was amazing.
I continued watching the birds on the estuary, including some oyster catchers that really weren't getting along, and the hordes of black-headed gulls. I was just about to head back to the van. That was until I heard the sound of a bird. One we needed for our year list.
Hey folks, so we were just about to leave and I heard a bird I need for our year list. A whimbrel. It looks like it's going to rain again soon, but I'm going to stick around for a little bit to see if one shows up. It might have just been one flying over, but I've seen them here before, so I'm really hoping one might show up. So stick with me for the last little bit.
I continued scanning the estuary and listening out for the call I previously heard. But I didn't hear the bird call again. I did, whilst I was watching, see a flock of gulls, which I think are little gulls, but please correct me if I'm wrong, they may just be black-headed gulls. Regardless, my search continued, and by this time I was scanning through every distant curlew in the hope that one would look a little smaller. At this point, both Kaylee and another birder showed up, and I was looking at a bird in the far distance I thought might be a whimbrel. Luckily, the other birder had a very good scope, and confirmed that he at least thought it was a whimbrel, but then found one that was a little less distant. When I say less distant, I certainly don't mean close, but enough to tell what it is. This species is a reasonably rare breeder in the UK, with only around 300 breeding pairs. These are restricted to the northern parts of Scotland. Most sightings of this species in the UK are seen on autumn migration, when the birds are making their way south to the coasts of Africa, Asia and Australia. And although the views we'd had here today hadn't been so great, and we'd had much better views in the past, it's still another species we can tick off our year list. So, a success.
Look who's here.
Finally.
We found the whimbrel. I found the really stupidly distant one, and then another bird near me found a slightly less distant, although still quite distant one.
Very distant.
But that's another one off the year list. Woo!
It was now time to head back towards the van, and, ironically, now as we were leaving, the sun came out. And even though we were drenched and had battled the weather for most of the weekend, we'd certainly had an eventful time.
Hey folks, that is our weekend unfortunately done. It was a real mixed bag, like having a lifer at the start with the white-winged tern, then the black-crowned night heron that didn't really want to play but did a little bit, so that's fine. And then we had torrential rain, which kind of stopped play really. But we ended up coming to our favourite place, so that was okay. And we had a pint and all that kind of stuff. And I got whimbrel, which is great, which is amazing, which we need for the year. So not a wasted mission. Anyway,
We need to give a big shout out to the bathroom first.
Oh yeah, we've just had a bathroom fitted. So we need to give a shout out to what they wanted to be called the lesser spotted bathroom fitters. Okay, they were really nice. One of the guys even watched our channel, which was kind of cool. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Please like,
Please subscribe.
and please press the notification bell. We'll see you on our next adventure.
Bye.
Bye bye.